Hi, this is Chris, the developer of Pixsy, and I'm going to show you today how to make and use Pixsy user commands. Pixsy user commands allow you to extend the application so that you can develop your own search functions, as well as to develop links for virtually any site out there with a URL. So to begin with, let's take a look at the Pixsy homepage, which is at www.pixsy.net. And what you'll find there is a command line. Here in the center of the screen, there's an enter button or return button. Down here at the bottom of the command line is a tab that allows you to open up a set of links to the blog where a number of the printed tutorials are published. A link that shows you a set of the tutorials that are available, the documentation site, as well as the changelog. And this is all going to be demonstrated to you from version 0.4.1 of the application, so some of these things may change over time. You can close that back up by clicking on that tab and your links disappear. And then to open your settings screen, you come down here to the cogwheel in the middle portion of the bottom of the screen. Click on that cogwheel and up come the settings. And I'll point out that there currently are two tabs available in the settings screen. One for user commands. We'll be doing all of our work here today to develop the user commands. There's also an aliases tab, which allows you to develop user aliases. And we won't be focusing on this today. But I'll refer you to the tutorial that I've recently published on the blog that tells you all about aliases and the benefits of those. So going back to user commands, let's close this window up. And the first one that we'll develop is from the Weather Underground site. Before I started the screencast, I went ahead and performed our search in Weather Underground here using their search bar. And I searched for San Francisco, California. So you have San Francisco, California's weather here. And you'll note that in the Weather Underground URL, the way that they've structured that is that there's a query equals, and then the search term that you use, San Francisco, California, right there. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy that entire URL. And let's bring that back to the Pixsy window. And open that back up. We make sure that the Commands tab is the one that's selected. And then the syntax for developing your own user command is going to be, so it's listed right here, it's going to be the less than sign, whatever you specify as your command, and you can name your command anything up to 20 characters in length, and then the greater than sign. So let's call this one weather. Okay. Enter a space after that, and then let's put in the URL. And what we want to do is we want to replace this area in the URL with this optional placeholder that's the open bracket Pixsy close bracket. And what that means is that Pixsy will replace whatever search term you put in the command line after your command with that search term. So we'll get rid of San Francisco, California. We'll replace that with open bracket Pixsy close bracket. Leave the remainder of the URL in place, and then let's hit save. And let's take a look at how that works. So we come back here to the command line, we type in our command indicator, which is a period, weather, which is the command that we just indicated that we wanted to call this search command. And then let's search for Austin, Texas. So we'll try a different site. See how this works. And there you go. You go to Weather Underground, you've searched for Austin, Texas's weather. You see that it's 91.6 degrees there right now. Warm day in Austin. And so it appears that it works. And why don't we come back here, we can try another one. Let's try Paris, France. And in Paris, a bit cooler day, 70 degrees today. So that's in a nutshell how to develop one type of search command in Pixsy. We've just developed our own weather command. We've called it weather. Now say that weather is a bit too long for you to type in at the command line. You want something shorter. You want to call it just something as simple as W. All right. So change what you have in between your less than and greater than signs there to W. Click Save. Leave everything else intact. And you come back here, and if we try again using weather, well, that's gone. Okay, Pixsy doesn't recognize that anymore. We've changed it to .w instead, and so it says, I don't know that command. Please try again. So this is popping up in the console window. You close that back up, and then just change that to .w, which is now the command that we've assigned. Paris, France, and then back you go to Weather Underground, searching for Paris, France. And you can use the search term just as you would in Weather Underground's search box itself. right, let's move on to a different one. Let's try one for Twitter. And what I've done here is I've done a search for @Mashable in Twitter search. And the URL structured a bit differently for Twitter. In Twitter, the way that they place their search term in their URL is after the last of the forward slashes. So you see this %40, that's the encoded symbol for the @ sign. And then Mashable, that's the search that we did. We see the results for the @Mashable search. So let's go ahead and copy that. And then head back to Pixsy again. We'll get rid of this on our command line. And let's make another one. Okay, so let's call this a Twitter search. So performing this just like we did before, we do the <, sign, enter Twitter, > symbol, and then paste in our URL that came from Twitter's search. And get rid of that @Mashable search and type in the open bracket Pixsy close bracket because we want to be able to use this to search for anything. And then also just note that when you each user command that you specify in Pixsy, make each new command on a separate. Click Save, close that window again, and then let's go back up here and now let's do a Twitter search. And let's search for @Mashable again. And there you go. So it performed the exact same search just like you would have if you would have searched for @Mashable in Twitter's search bar itself. Okay, so that's a second example. We'll do a third example. Now we want to search the Mashable site itself. Okay, so before we started the screencast, I entered Apple into Mashable search. The way that Mashable structures it is instead of like Weather Underground, they had a query equals. Well, this one now has a Q equals Apple. Okay, so this is going to be the area here where we replace with our open bracket Pixsy close bracket to make our command. Go ahead and copy all of that. And let's head back to Pixsy. Get rid of this in the command line. Open our settings screen again. Make sure you go down to a new line for each of your commands. And let's call this a Mashable command. Paste that in. And again, this was the area where we need our search term to wind up when we use it at Pixsy's command line. And leave the rest of the URL in place, okay? And then just make sure you hit save each time. Otherwise, it won't recognize it. And then come back up here to the command line. You enter your period, indicating that you're going to be calling a command, Mashable, a space, and then go ahead and enter whatever search term you'd like, just like you would on Mashable's site itself. So let's go ahead and try Apple, just like we'd done before. And it's waiting for Mashable. There you go. It opened up an Apple search with all the Mashable articles on Apple. And you can do that for essentially any search just like you could on Mashable's site. Okay. So there you go. 3 different search functions that we've developed now. A weather function that we shortened down to just W to make it quick and easy to use at the command line. We made a Twitter search function, which we've called Twitter. We've made a Mashable search function, which we've called Mashable. And you can change those at any time. Just make sure you save between each of your changes and you call it at the command line, just as you would if you were using any of the built-in Pixsy commands. And just note, if you do name any of your user commands to the same term that's used for a Pixsy command, it will default to your user command rather than Pixsy's built-in command. So just be aware of that. Okay, the last one that we'll do so this is going to be to make a command that functions much like Pixsy's own quick links. I have quick links built into the application so that you can quickly and easily type in instructions to go to a specific website. There are over 800 websites that are currently programmed in, and I'll just give you an example on how you use this. We're going to show you an example of how to do this with Instructables, and let me just show you the distinction between a quick link and how you're going to make your command. So with a quick link, it's period, space, and the quick link itself, okay? And if you enter that, it takes you directly to the website for that. So over 800 different websites. This works for a large number of websites out there. There's Lifehacker. Okay, and so that's just a few examples of the quick links. Now we'll make a distinction between that and the user command that we're now going to make, because with that quick link, as you'll note, we did the dot. There's no command term itself. It's just the quick link afterwards. So dot space quick link. Okay. When we develop it as a command, there's no space there. So just be aware of that as you develop your commands. And if you do use the quick links function, that is how quick links differ from the commands, both built-in commands and any user-specified commands in the application. All right, so Instructables. Here's the URL for the Instructables homepage. Copy that. This is just a quick and simple way to form a link to any website. You can call it whatever you like. Let's say instruct. Okay. In between the less than and greater than sign, paste in Instructables URL. Hit save. Close that back up. And .instruct, and there you go. So that's how you use user commands in Pixsy. I hope you find that this is a useful feature, and give it a shot on the website to see what you can come up with. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to send me an email. My email address is there on the screen, pixsy@gmail.com. Or feel free to post a comment on the blog, and I'll get back in touch with you so we can try and resolve any issues that you come up with.